Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers, and this morning I'm looking at a book from Jordan's which is on the law of cartels, now in a second edition, and it's been written by Mark Jephcott. We've given it a title, New from Jordan's, the updated edition of this authoritative practitioner work on cartels. Not the most original of titles in some respects, but it does actually get to the point quickly. What we're saying is the vexed issues pertaining to cartels are carefully examined in this new second edition from Jordan's. And as noted in the foreword by Peter Freeman, the book examines in some depth one part of the system of law known as the EU-UK side of the Atlantic as competition law, and on the other side, that's the American side, we call it antitrust law, adding that the law of, or more correctly against, cartels is often seen as the centerpiece of competition law. I think it's useful to explain that right at the beginning so that we get some idea of the European and the American sort of flavour of it. Freeman also points out that such activities as price fixing or market sharing agreements between competing companies, referred to in the text as hardcore cartel activity, has to be proscribed by any self-respecting competition law system. I'm sure that's right, and obviously there are some people who don't agree with it. This new second edition contains much new material. For example, chapters 3, 4 and 5, which relate to investigations, fines and leniency, have been almost completely rewritten to include new developments in the law since the first edition was published some 7 years ago, when apparently enforcement of cartel law in the UK by the authorities has hardly begun. In those 7 years, two important pieces of UK and EU legislation have come into force, namely the UK's criminal cartel offence, part of the Enterprise Act of 2002, and the EU modernisation regulation of December 2002. And the book focuses, as did the first edition, on examining hardcore cartels, detecting them and enforcing their proscription. Part 1 covers the civil consequences of hardcore cartel activities, including the historical and economic background, and Part 2 turns its attention to the criminal consequences. Part 3 then goes on to offer practical guidance on how to deal with cartels generally, particularly those operating globally. And I think that's very important. It's a good book for research as well. That's what it looks like. Very blue front cover, the spine, and there's quite a lot of detail on the back, which you can see. From Jordan's, as I say, there's a very detailed index, which is to be expected. It runs to something in the region of 500 pages. You've got the usual stuff with Jordan's. You've got the paragraph numbering at the sides, and you've got the footnotes, which makes it extremely useful to find things. The content is very detailed as well, which I think is very helpful. And do, if you've got time, have a look at Freeman's Foreword, which is there. I'd like to thank the author and the publishers very much for producing this. It's a very important book for the way we're going in the 21st century globally, with the way we look at how we do business, putting it in its biggest picture. Thank you very much indeed. Bye-bye.